Day in a row. It was a 10-game slate in the NBA yesterday, and let's start off with the Clippers' 109-104 win over the Denver Nuggets. Clippers almost blew a big lead in this game. They jumped out to a really quick start early on. They went up by as much as 18 in the second quarter, but thanks to Nikola Jokic, thanks to Denver starters, they were able to claw their way back into this game. They took the lead at some point in the fourth quarter, setting up what was a very good game down the stretch. James Harden pulled away and he won it for the Clippers. He got to the line on a controversial call. He did the rip through, got Aaron Gordon, went to the line, got two. Jokic got fouled himself, but he missed one of his two free throws. It put Denver behind. The Clippers made all their free throws. The Nuggets were not able to make a three. And the Clippers, thanks to their depth and their all-around play, get a nice win on the road. Three key players for the Clippers last night. First of all, of course, it's James Harden. He had 23 points, 6 rebounds, 16 assists. Yes, 16 assists. He may have had 7 turnovers, but his passing was tremendous all game long, and you're going to have to take the turnovers, especially with a guy like Harden. And when he makes the passes he did, when he opens up the lanes that he does, you're okay with that. Secondly, Norman Powell on an absolute heater, 37 points. He made 14 of his 21 shots, hit 7 threes from long distance. And finally, Ivica Zubac also had a great game. 24 points, 15 rebounds, had a few assists. He also had a really efficient night, going 11 to 17 from the field. And for the Clippers, he's going to have, I think, a career year, or a much better year than usual this year. Not only because his role is going to be increased, but because James Harden loves running that pick and roll with centers. That's been his go-to along with the step back for his entire career. He ran it with Clint Capella in Houston. He ran it perfectly with Joel Embiid in Philadelphia. And Zubac is another guy he's going to do it really well with. You can tell that Zoo worked on it all summer because his touch wasn't that great at points last year. He just wasn't used to Harden's passing, and over the first few games of this year, he's looked a lot more polished in that pick and roll, which is going to open up the Clippers offense a lot. Chris Dunn, he had a really strong night off the bench as well with 11 points, 6 rebounds, made 4 of his 6 shots, hit 3 of his 5 threes, and played his normal great defense. Nuggets, the one thing that everybody had been concerned about all offseason for them was their depth. Were they going to be able to even be okay in the minutes where Nikola Jokic was not on the court? And through the first few games of this season, that answer has been a resounding no. Game against the Clippers, the Nuggets bench was a combined 3 of 18, and they were a minus 12 in the 12 minutes where Jokic was off of the court. The one thing that has me concerned more than just, how bad the bench has been playing is what happens if a guy like Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr. goes down. They're going to have to bring one of these guys who hasn't been playing well off the bench into the starting lineup. And it can quickly change, but keep an eye on the Nuggets bench because it is a story to watch for the rest of the year. The Nuggets wasted a 41-point, 9 rebound, 7 made 3 masterclass from Nikola Jokic. He was trying to will his team to victory, and the bench killed him. Jamal Murray, while he did have 22 points on 50% shooting, wasn't the best down the very end of that game. He had his solid moments but wasn't perfect. Christian Braun really only had 1 quarter. It was a total Jokic carry job, and he just could not pull it off. And this is a bad loss for Denver, who now falls to 0-2 on the season. The Clippers now at 1-1. Play again tonight in Golden State, and Denver heads on the road to take on the Raptors Monday night. The Cavaliers with a blowout 135-116 win over the Washington Wizards. The Wizards only had 1 lead throughout this entire game, and it was when they were up 2-0. Besides that, Cleveland had the lead the rest of the way, but it wasn't as much of a blowout early on as you might think it was. Washington was actually only down 6 points heading into halftime. Cleveland had a double-digit lead for about a minute in the first half, but Washington quickly was able to get back in the game. It was really the second half where the Cavaliers turned it on. They scored 38 points in each of the third and fourth quarters. They are now 3-0, and despite beating three, not very good teams, you still have to be really reassured with how they've played so far this year. They've looked really strong in every single game that they have played. Washington, they're now 0-2. Looked good, but they've also played two of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. What I've really liked about the Cavaliers so far has been their depth. They've been getting a lot of different double-digit scores. They had 7 guys in double figures last night. They went 53.4% as a team, 46% from 3, and their leading scorer was Donovan Mitchell. He had a 30-point game, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. He goes 11 of 18 from the field. He makes 6 of his 11 threes. Another guy that had a strong game, Darius Garland, had a few rocky games to start the season, has by far his best game of the season so far. 23 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, an insanely efficient 9 of 11 from the field, goes 4 of 5 from 3. Jared Allen, a perfect game for him. 23 points, 5 rebounds, goes 10 of 10 from the field. An amazing night for him. Karis LeVert was in double figures off the bench. Ty Jerome was in double figures off the bench again, and he's had 3 good games to start the season. Sam Merrill, while he was a little efficient, was in double figures. And lastly, even though it wasn't his best shooting game, going just 4 of 13, Evan Mobley still had 13 points, 13 rebounds, a few assists, was great on the defensive side of the ball like always, and all around just a very strong win to the Cavaliers, who have now started off the season 3-0. The thing I have really liked about the Wizards so far this season is that they know they are tanking this year. They aren't trying to play these veterans extended minutes when they don't need to. They are letting the youth just understand the league more. Yeah, for a guy like Bub Carrington to get a start in his second career game, even if he didn't play that well, having him go against this Cleveland team that is really good and having him start and let him see that lineup, I like that a lot. Same thing with Alex Sarr and Bilal Coulibaly, and we saw, Keyshawn George and Jared Butler and Johnny Davis. Jordan Poole didn't even play in the fourth quarter. We know the Wizards aren't going to be a good basketball team. You can look at the stats. You can look at how they play. They aren't going to be a good team this year. That's fine. They know that. They're understanding of that. What they need to do now is see which young guys they can build around and what young guys just aren't going to be it. I like Bilal Coulibaly. Alex Sarr, he was better on the offensive side of the ball today, and he shows a lot of defensive flashes. Just all around, I do like this strategy for the Wizards. They know they're going to win 15 games this year. I think that anybody that watches basketball will kind of understand that they're not going to be good. But let the youth cook. I like it. They're bad, and they know it. It's fine by me, Washington. Let the youth get ready. See what guys you have. These teams play again Monday, with Washington traveling to Atlanta and Cleveland traveling to New York. We have the Celtics 124-118 win over the Detroit Pistons. You know the meme where it's the hydrogen bomb versus the coughing baby? Well, the coughing baby genuinely almost won, and it did not look like that early on. The Celtics had about a 23-24 point lead midway through the second quarter. They were hitting every shot. They scored 42 points in the first quarter. Tatum was on fire. Pritchard was on fire. Horford was hitting his shots early on. And in the second half, that completely changed. Boston couldn't hit anything. The Pistons were playing much better defense, and they started hitting their shots a little more. Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham, Malik Beasley, they were bringing Detroit back in this game, and they took the lead and even took a 6-point lead with 5 minutes left, and it looked like they genuinely could pull it off, but Boston woke up. They went on an 18-6 run to retake the lead, get it back, pull away down the stretch, and get the win. The story for Boston's offense was through the first 16-18 minutes of this game, they could do no wrong. Jason Tatum, like I said, was on fire. Same thing with Pritchard and Horford, but both of those guys, along with most of Boston's team, did nothing in the second half, especially in that third quarter where their offense completely went dormant. It was not a good night for Jaylen Brown. He had 24 points on 24 shots. However, the rest of his team was able to pick up enough for him. Jason Tatum, another great game. 37 points, 4 rebounds, 62% true shooting. He had a really good night again. That jumper has been falling so far this year. Yeah, he wasn't the best of the third quarter, but neither was really anybody. Al Horford had all of his 17 in the first half. Pritchard, I believe, had 17 of his 19 in the first half. Derek White was one of the only guys that actually picked it up as the game progressed, was a little dormant early on, had a big fourth quarter, and it helped lead Boston to this win. They would have probably have liked to not blow the 20-point lead, but when you're a team as good as them, just getting the win is okay. Pistons, their best player was Jaden Ivey. Despite his 1 of 5 fourth quarter, he had 26 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Good all-around game for him. Helped Detroit a lot to get back into this game. Cade Cunningham, he had his issues. He had another bad turnover night with 7 turnovers. Wasn't his most efficient game either with just 45% true shooting, but he had 21 points. He had 10 assists. He had 4 blocks as well, which really impressed me. Another guy that had a pretty solid game was Malik Beasley. He started off the season really strong, had 9 of his 17 points in the fourth quarter, was 5 of 8 from long distance. Simi Foncheco, he also had a double-digit game in just 18 minutes, shot 50% from the field, but a few guys did not have very good games, and it was most notably from Tobias Harris. He had a rough night, did grab 11 rebounds, which was good to see, but had just 8 points. It was a really rough 2 of 11 shooting, 0 of 5 from 3. The Pistons fall to 0-3, but they have played all 3 of their games close. They've played Boston close, they've played Cleveland close, and they've played Indiana close, so I do have to give credit to JB Bickerstaff and crew. They have been making teams work for these wins. Teams will play again on Monday with Boston taking on the Bucks and the Pistons going on the road to take on the Heat. We have the Miami Heat beating the Charlotte Hornets 114-106. This was a game where Miami had the lead for the majority of the game. They went back and forth in the first quarter. Neither team could really jump out in front. It was a very defensive first quarter, but Miami started off the second quarter strong. They took a lead, and while they never relinquished it, it was always close. The Hornets were never out of this. For a team missing Mark Williams, for a team missing Josh Green, for a team missing Brandon Miller, they were fighting really toughly. They were staying in this game the entire way. Even when Miami was up double digits in the fourth quarter, Charlotte quickly went on a run to make it a one-possession game down the stretch, and while Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier and Tyler Hero did their thing, helped Miami pull away and get the win, and Miami needed this win, especially a fourth quarter win. It's still a great fight for the Hornets. This is a game where both teams should be very happy with how they played. Able to get the win despite another quiet game for Bam Adebayo. He had just 12 points, 11 rebounds, shot a very inefficient 6 of 17 from the field, has had 2 really rocky games to start the season, but despite that, he has of course been his normal Bam Adebayo self on the defensive side of the ball, and once that shot starts falling, he's going to be awesome this year. Jimmy Butler, he led the charge for Miami. After his bad opening night, he rebounded with a 26.8 rebound, 8 assist outburst, got to the line 17 times during the game as well. He made actually just 11 of them, which is low for his standards, but it was all around a strong game for him. Tyler Hero, he also had a good night, 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Also shot just below 50%. He was 3 of 7 from 3 as well. Terry Rozier, 19 points, 5 rebounds, few assists. He also shot above 50%, and this was a needed win for this Heat team. Their defense was strong. They just had more star power than the Hornets did. They were able to pull away late. Their guys made big plays in the clutch. Hero had a few big plays. Rozier hit a big shot. Butler was great. They did exactly what they needed to do right when the Hornets got close, which was pull away and get the win. Better defensive game than offensive game for the Hornets, but they were still able to get 6 players in double figures. LaMelo, of course, led the charge, 27, 8, and 7. Wasn't his best night from downtown, went just 2 of 10 from 3, had a few turnovers as well, but it was all around a solid game for him. Seth Curry, he had 15 points. He had a solid game, 50% from the field, made 3 of his 6 threes. Nick Richards, he was able to get a double-double, 12 points, 12 rebounds, 5 of 8 shooting, was able to contain Bam as well, but he's a little uncoordinated out there. Just the one thing I've noticed for him. Also wasn't the worst game for him, but he was just all right. I know that Hornets fans are waiting for Mark Williams to be back. Miles Bridges, he put up 16 points, 9 rebounds, had an okay game. Trey Mann, he's been solid off the bench once again, but they started him tonight. 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 of 11 shooting. He has been playing pretty well to start this season. Is going to be a really good 6th man once Brandon Miller comes back. And Cody Martin hit a few shots as well to get in double figures. And all around, solid game for the Hornets. Again, like I said, I love the way that they're fighting. They are not letting teams beat them easily. They've got solid coaching in Charles Lee. He's building a team that's going to play more defense, that's going to hustle more, and we've seen it. If I'm a Hornets fan, I'm excited for how this team's going to play the rest of the season. We'll look to get another win Monday against the Pistons, and the Hornets don't play again till Wednesday night, where they take on the Raptors. We have the Wolves' 112-101 win over the Raptors. Game that Minnesota never trailed, and it was a wire-to-wire victory. Minnesota jumped out to a 16-3 run early in this game, and they never looked back. They had the lead the entire way. They were playing great defense. They were doing a really good job staying in front. Never really lost control at any point. There was never really a time in this game where I thought that Toronto was going to have a chance to come back and win this, but I will give credit to the Raptors as well. They never gave up. They were fighting hard the entire way through, and they actually made it, as I like to call it, fake close near the end, going on an 11-2 run to make the game look better in the final score. But still with that, the Raptors were fighting. They were fighting for loose balls. They were doing everything they needed to do. It's just that Minnesota is a far more talented team, and Toronto is coming off of the second half of a back-to-back. And for the Raptors, you will take going 1-1 in this back-to-back. They looked strong, especially without a lot of their rotation guys. Particularly strong night for the Wolves defense as they forced 20 Toronto turnovers. They also had 6 players in double figures, starting off with Anthony Edwards, who tied for the team's lead in scoring. He had 24 points, had a few rebounds as well. Wasn't his best night shooting-wise, went 9 of 21 from the field, but he did go 5 of 12 from 3. He's shooting a lot more from downtown, had 54% true shooting. Wasn't his best game, wasn't his worst game. It was a really good night for Rudy Gobert on both ends of the ball. 15 points, 12 rebounds, 5 stocks, 75% from the field. This is the Rudy Gobert I think of when I think of the 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. The first few games of the season, he had been okay. He was tremendous last night. Julius Randle, he also had another strong game. 24 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 9 of 16 shooting. The Wolves' spacing has been solid, a thing that I was worried about, and especially after opening night, it has been far improved over these last few games. Mike Conley, he's continuing his cold start to the season shooting-wise. It's not falling right now. Same thing with Dante DiVincenzo. He may have had 16 points, but he was very inefficient, going 5 of 15 from the field. Naz Reid was also in double figures as well, and once those guards start hitting the shots that I know they can hit, once Conley starts hitting, once DiVincenzo starts hitting, they're going to become even more lethal than they already are now, because then they will be so good on both sides of the ball, on both the perimeter and the interior. Toronto, their youth had another really strong game. Grady Dick, 25 points, really efficient night from the field, went 4 of 9 from 3. Scotty Barnes had his ups and downs, did have 6 turnovers, shot a little under 50% from the field, but 20 points, 8 rebounds, had 6 assists as well. Ochai Agbaji, he had a really good game, 19 points, shot 66% from the field. He was hustling all around as well. Jamison Battle, he played really well against Philadelphia, had another good game again tonight. He was hustling hard. He had 9 points and 6 rebounds. Jamal Sneed, he was hustling again. And this is what another guy I was going to talk about, Jonathan Mogbo. He was hustling again. I love how much heart all of these young guys for the Raptors play with. Sure, they lost by double digits. We're never really in this game, but they were playing an elite team, and this Raptors team has a bunch of heart, a bunch of guys that are willing to fight for rotation minutes, that really want to play and really want to win. And when they get back to full strength, when they get Emmanuel Quickly, when they get RJ Barrett, when they get Bruce Brown, when they get Kelly Olynyk, I'm really intrigued to see how the rotation is going to play out, because all these young guys really want minutes, and they're showing why they should get some right now. Look to get another win Tuesday against the Mavericks, while the Raptors play again Monday against the Nuggets. It was extremely similar to the one that I just talked about before it. The Memphis Grizzlies won 124-111 against the Orlando Magic. This was another game where the losing team never had the lead. The Magic, not one point in this game did they have the lead. The Grizzlies came out firing early. An amazing first half for them on both sides of the ball, scoring 34 plus points in each of the first 2 quarters, while also holding Orlando to just 43 first half points. The Grizzlies were up by as much as 29 at one point in this game. I believe that was early in the third quarter, right at the end of the first half. They were up 29 at one point, and Orlando, out of nowhere, comes firing back. They go on a 21-0 run midway through the quarter to make this an 8-point game, which makes it a little different than that Toronto-Minnesota game, because when you go on that 21-0 run, you've got a chance, and you've got a definite, real chance, but Memphis did a good job. They were able to alleviate the pressure, were able to bring it back before anything crazy happened. They were able to come back, get a little run right back, hold on, keep the lead the rest of the way, and get a really strong win. For Memphis, we have to talk about the unsung heroes that really won them this game, and it's something that makes them such a threat in the Western Conference. They have a bunch of depth, a lot of guys that can really give them strong rotational minutes. Santi Aldama, another big game for him. 22 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. He goes 9 of 12 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3. Has looked really strong in 2 of the 3 Grizzlies games so far this season. Scottie Pippen Jr., he had a good game. 11 points, 12 assists, looked good all around on the offensive side of the ball, was finding the right lanes, and he was one of 2 Grizzlies players to have 10 assists, the other being Ja Morant, who isn't an unsung hero, by the way, but it wasn't his best night, but the rest of the team did a great job picking him up. How about Jay Huff, a guy that Nuggets fans are once again thinking, oh my goodness, here we go. Another backup center that could have played that we just let go for free. It was first Isaiah Hartenstein. Can it be Jay Huff now? It sure is looking like it. He looked great. 18 points in 19 minutes. Had a few rebounds. Is looking really good next to Jaren Jackson Jr. as well, who in his first game of the season had 13 points, 4 rebounds, played just 22 minutes. Wasn't perfect, but he's getting back into the swing of the things. He was a plus 26 when he played too. You could just tell, even though it wasn't his best game, Memphis is a better team with him on the court. So even though JJJ, Bane, and Morant all had pretty quiet games, Memphis was able to win this game handily. And outside of that big third quarter run, it was just not their night on either side of the ball. And coming off of a second half of a back-to-back, and with how good they've played in the first few games of their season, I'm not going to go crazy over it. You can't win them all, but it overall just was not that good of a night for them. Franz, he led the charge with 23 points, 7 rebounds, had a few assists, shot a little under 45% from the field. Started off the game a little cold. Those middle quarters, he was really strong, but didn't do much in the fourth quarter either. It was an interesting game for Jalen Suggs as well. He had 21 points, 7 rebounds, he had a few assists, but he was just 6 of 17 from the field, 5 of 13 from 3, which is not terrible, but his defense was great. 5 stocks, 4 steals. He was creating havoc like he normally does, and it was probably his best game of the season so far. Paulo Banchero was a night to forget for him. It's the second game in a row where he just has not been shooting the ball well. He finished with 16 points, 7 rebounds, few assists, was just 33% from the field though. And while guys like Anthony Black had their moments off the bench, Mo Wagner as well, they both had some solid nights off the bench, just was nowhere near enough to make up for, that horrible first half. Teams play at home on Monday night with the Magic taking on the Pacers and the Grizzlies taking on the Bulls. Another game where the team that lost barely or never had the lead, with the Thunder winning 114-95 over the Chicago Bulls. Only had one lead throughout this entire game, and they were up by 3 early on, about a minute into the game. Once Oklahoma City retook that lead, they never gave it up the rest of the way. The Bulls were able to keep it close through a majority of the first half. In fact, it was about a 1-point game midway through the second quarter, but at that point, the Thunder turned it on both sides of the ball. From midway through the second quarter to midway through the third quarter, the Thunder went on a 32-10 run to blow this game wide open. They never looked back. Even though the second half was close in score, the Thunder used that massive run to win the second quarter 33-18 to pull away and win this game very handedly. And it was Oklahoma City's defense that won them the game, and for a team that's missing Isaiah Hartenstein for another month, they still might be the best defense in the NBA without him. They're the only team to not allow 100 points yet so far this season. So even though the Thunder shot just 42% from the field, 20% from 3 tonight, they were able to force 26 Chicago turnovers, helping give the Thunder way more chances. Not only that, they held Chicago to a very inefficient night, which helped lead to this blowout win. It was a rare night where Oklahoma City's bench had no players in double figures. Lou Dort hit a few buckets, Aaron Wiggins hit a few buckets, Isaiah Joe hit a few buckets, but nobody was really great for them scoring-wise off the bench. In fact, they only had 3 players in double figures this game, and it was their 3 best players in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren. Shai had 23 and 8, had a few assists, had 4 steals, by the way. Inefficient night for him, 9 of 29 from the field. He went just 2 of 9 from 3. I'm surprised that he took 9 3-pointers, by the way. Usually a guy that likes to drive into the cup more, likes to take mid-range jumpers, trying to add that 3 to his repertoire, but I don't really know if I want Shea taking 9 threes a game, especially when his shot isn't on. J-Dub, he had a strong night, was probably the Thunder's best player, 24, 9, and 8, shot just above 45% from the field, 10 of 22, 1 of 4 from 3, and Chet Holmgren also deserves some love. He's looked very good through the first few games of the season, 21 points, 16 rebounds, looking great on the defensive side of the ball, 8 of 18 from the field. It's just that 3 has not been falling for the first few games of the season, because once that jumper is falling, I really don't know how you're going to be able to guard him. Under the Bulls also only had 3 players in double figures throughout the game, but not only were Oklahoma City's 3 guys better, they also got a little more from their depth, unlike Chicago. Their 3 double-digit scores were Nikola Vucevic, who actually had a pretty solid night, 18 points, 13 rebounds, shot really well from the field, shot 7 of 12, made both of his threes, good game for him. Zach LaVine, he had 22, 9, 3, few steals, 6 of 13 from the field, 4 of 9 from 3. He's looked pretty strong in his first 3 games back this year. And Josh Giddey, 14 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, just 6 of 14 from the field for him, made 2 of his 6 threes. Not his best game, but also not his worst game either. For the rest of the Bulls starters and their lower end depth, it was just not good games for them. Let me talk about the Bulls guards of Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu. They both had really rough nights from the field. They combined for 12 points on 23 shots as a duo. They went a combined 1 of 18 from 3. It was a really, really rough game for both of those guys. One that they'd both like to forget, and it really killed the Bulls in this game, because if those 2 guys do shoot well, they have a legitimate chance to win. City plays again tonight against the Hawks, while the Bulls play again on Monday in Memphis. The Rockets almost pulled off a big comeback against the Spurs, but San Antonio was able to hold on, winning 109-106. Really interesting game, to say the least. The Spurs started this one off strong, 38-point first quarter. They took a 7-point lead at the end of one. Houston gradually came back a little bit. They made it a little closer with 9 minutes left. They were at 38 points. They were at 38 points for 9 consecutive minutes. It took 9 minutes for the Rockets to score a basket. I think from 9:20 in the second quarter to about 30 seconds left in the first half, they didn't score a single point. And San Antonio honestly could have done more with that. They didn't score as much. They really only won that quarter 24-10, and it gave Houston an opening to come back, and sure enough, gradually throughout the game, they were fighting and fighting back in this game. Third quarter, they went on a little bit of the run, but San Antonio countered. Then, in the fourth quarter, the Rockets go on a 25-8 run to make it a 1-point game. They are right there on the cusp of coming back. They are right there entirely down the stretch. They have multiple chances to take the lead, but they just were never able to capitalize. Jalen Green's game-tying attempt at the buzzer was not able to fall, and the Spurs were able to barely hold on and win this game by 3. Played really good defense for 3 quarters. Their defense kind of fell apart in that fourth quarter, but they were able to do just enough to hold on and get the win. San Antonio also shot 49.4% from the field, 40% from 3. Strong all-around offensive night for them, and it was led by Victor Wembanyama. Bounces back from his game against Dallas on Thursday, gets 29 points, 7 rebounds, an efficient 10 of 17 from the field, made a few threes as well, was blocking the ball well, and completely took Sengun out of the game to the point where Sengun got benched in the fourth quarter. Jeremy Sohan, he also had a solid night, 17 points, 12 rebounds, 8 of 14 shooting. He was doing it all out there. Harrison Barnes played pretty well. He was in double figures. Julian Champagnie also was in double figures. He was shot 50% as well. Both of those guys had efficient nights. They combined for 4 of 7 from 3, which is exactly what Popovich wants. And Keldon Johnson had a strong game off the bench as well. He had 16 points, 8 rebounds, 5 of 11 from the field. That was something that, Spurs fans really wanted to see. Remember when Keldon Johnson a few years ago looked like a guy that the Spurs could potentially build around. San Antonio's hoping that he can become a strong 6th man or maybe even jump him back to the starting lineup if he keeps playing really well. Chris Paul had 9 assists, may have had 4 turnovers, but he opens up the offense so much more, even with that jumper not falling as much as it used to. The passing is so necessary, so needed. It's something that San Antonio desperately missed from last year. And another guy that I do want to give credit to is rookie Stephon Castle. 8 points, 3 assists. May have not been his most efficient game on the offensive side of the ball. Shot just 2 of 8 from the field, but I've been really impressed with his hustle and his defense. He had 3 stocks and was all around just being a pest on the defensive end. I was really impressed by that because that was the one thing I was a little concerned about his game when coming into the league, but his defense has been strong so far. Gave themselves a bunch of extra chances. They were forcing turnovers and they took 13 more shots than San Antonio did, but it just was not enough to get the win today. And I like their depth. I don't like their depth. I love their depth. I like their defense, but their offense just has been pretty clunky to start the year. They have these stretches where they go completely ice cold. It was why they lost the Hornets game. It was why they lost this game. They had a 9-minute stretch where they didn't even score a single point. That is unacceptable, and I think it does come down to the star player in Şengün. Ever since the first half of that Hornets game, Şengün hasn't been as aggressive as I would have liked him to be. And I get it. He's coming back from injury. He hasn't played basketball in forever. And the Rockets were on a winning streak without him at the end of last season. So he's trying to figure his way back into, Ime Udoka's system. And he just wasn't able to do that tonight, and I get it. He had Wemby guarding him as well. That is not an easy assignment at all, but you have to realize you need to be way more aggressive out there. Be controlling. Take the ball. You're the guy, and you're a damn good player, Şengün. Just, you can do it. Don't try and, keep kicking and take yourself out of the game because then you're going to get benched in the fourth quarter like he was tonight. Jalen Green, he has been playing pretty well. He is inconsistent, but he's led Houston in scoring. He had 29 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, was 10 of 22 from the field. Fred VanVleet, he also did have a solid game, 18 points, 7 assists, had a few steals, made a few threes as well. And I like the way both Cam Whitmore and Jock Landale played off the bench. Houston's depth is still there, and I think they'll be fine. It's 3 games into the season. They still need to figure it out. They're still trying to gel together. But I think that the one thing that they need to do is get Şengün more involved. And once they do, they're really going to start taking off on the offensive end. Actually gets a chance at revenge. This is one of those baseball series that the NBA has been trying to do more, as San Antonio will take on the Rockets at home again on Monday night. It was another one of those games where the team that won barely ever lost control of the lead. About midway through the first quarter, Phoenix took the lead and they never lost it. And this was despite Dallas never really being out of it. It was always a 10 to 8 point game. There was never really any huge runs to turn this into a blowout, but Dallas also never really had any big runs to retake the lead. It seemed like every time the Mavericks got to within 4 or within 3, Phoenix would immediately get a few buckets of their own, make the lead back to 8 or make the lead back to 10, Finally, Phoenix got it to 15 at one point with about 6.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, putting Dallas away. They were able to hold on, and this is now the second time in 3 games this year where Phoenix has been able to hold on to a fourth quarter lead, which, if you know about the Suns last year, that was a major issue. Sure, they blew that game against the Lakers last night, but the next night on the second half of a back-to-back, coming in and playing a player like Luka Doncic who routinely really kills you, and guess what? He did again last night. But the fact that you were able to hold Dallas off and get this win is something that they should be really proud about. I really did like about Phoenix's defense last night was how they were able to completely neutralize Dallas's role players. Sure, Luka played really well. Kyrie had a solid game. Clay played well again. But the Suns completely neutralized Dallas's role players, completely took them out of the game, and it was what ultimately helped them stay in front and win this game. Also, on the offensive end, it was a strong night for Kevin Durant, 31 points, 9 rebounds, shot just above 45% from the field, went 10 of 21. He also shot 4 of 8 from 3, and the one play that stood out to me was he hit the little too small on Luka too. Hit a gorgeous mid-range jumper that Luka couldn't do anything about on the defensive end. He played perfect defense. It was just Kevin Durant. Another guy that I really liked for the Suns was Yusuf Nurkic. After his cold first 2 games of the season, he had a really good game last night. 18 points, 14 rebounds, shot 7 of 12 from the field as I'm looking at it, and he did a good job on both Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. Not been a good night for the field for Devin Booker. He shot just 4 of 12, but he was able to get to the charity stripe a lot. He went 11 of 12 from the line, finished his night with 21 points and 5 assists, and Phoenix as a team was also able to take 19 more free throws than the Mavericks were, which was a big factor into their win as well. I also liked Tyus Jones's play, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. His playmaking has been really strong to start this season off. And I also liked Ryan Dunn's play, 13 points in 21 minutes. The forward shot really well and did all of the little things on the court as well. I think he's been playing really well for the Suns to start this season as well. I mentioned a minute and a half ago, it was a strong game for Dallas's core players. 40, 10, and 4 for Luka. He shoots 48% from the field, goes 5 of 13 from 3, is able to attempt 12 of Dallas's 18 free throws as well. Kyrie, he has 22, 2, and 5. Wasn't his most efficient game, just goes 9 of 22 from the field, but he was 2 of 5 from 3 and was scoring well. Not Kyrie, just said his name. Clay, he had 19 points. He was 5 of 12 from 3. He's looked pretty well to start off his Mavericks career. It was just their depth and their wings that really killed them in this one. PJ Washington and Najee Marshall both had weak games. They combined for a 3 of 15 night. That is just not going to cut it from your wings, especially when you are playing Kevin Durant. The bigs were all right. I liked Derek Lively's play, 5 points, 11 rebounds, made both of his shots. Daniel Gafford, 7 points, 8 rebounds. He was 3 of 7, which is actually pretty bad for his insanely efficient standards, but it was just not an all-around good game for Dallas. You know, they would have liked a lot more from their bench, needed a lot more from that depth period, and they overall just weren't efficient enough to get the win. Teams play again on Monday, with Dallas being home playing Utah and the Suns also being home playing the Lakers. Lakers, they are now 3-0 to start the season as they beat the Sacramento Kings 131 to 127. And I genuinely think that Lakers fans might already be building JJ Redick a statue, because the difference between him and Darvin Ham, even though it's been 3 games, I try not to overreact, but they have so much better coaching. Oh my goodness, is JJ Redick literally leaps and bounds ahead of what Darvin Ham was for the Lakers, and it's going to make them such a tougher team to beat now with actual competent coaching, with adjusting. Again, this looked like a game that the Lakers were going to lose. They were heading into the fourth quarter down. Sacramento had been outplaying them there. The Lakers defense had not been as good as it had been in previous games, but once again, the late game adjustments for Coach Redick were terrific. The Lakers start the fourth quarter off on a 21-0 run. LeBron completely took the game over down the stretch. The Lakers were able to hold on and get another great win. Had 6 players in double figures. They had a great night on the offensive end, shooting 52% from the field, 41% from 3, and they had both star players with 30-plus points. LeBron James, 40 years old in a few months, and he is still getting triple-doubles in year 22. 32 points, 14 rebounds, 10 assists, 12 of 22 shooting, 4 of 9 from 3. I just want everybody to realize he's in year 22. He is a 39-year-old man, and he is still doing stuff like this. Do not take it for granted, everybody. I don't know if we're ever going to see a guy with the longevity like this ever again in our lifetimes. Anthony Davis, he also had another really good game. Him and Sabonis had an absolute battle tonight. That was so much fun to watch. AD had 31 points, 9 rebounds, 5 stocks, 10 of 15 from the field. A strong night for him. D'Lo, he did get benched at the end of the game due to him falling on the floor and staying on the ground. JJ was not happy about that, but he did have a good game. 16 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 of 6 from 3. Shot pretty well as well. Austin Reeves looked good again. 16, 7, and 6, was doing all of the things all around. He shot 7 of 12 as well. Dalton Connect, he's looked like a great pick so far. JJ Redick seems to love him. He's got 10 points, 4 of 7 shooting, made 2 of his 4 threes. And while it wasn't the best shooting night for Rui, he still had 18 points, 9 rebounds, was able to get to the line. And the Lakers look damn good right now. If they are able to stay healthy, I was really, really skeptical about them, but if they could stay healthy and if they could keep playing like this, they could be a lot better than I was giving them credit for at the beginning of the season. Kings, they had a great game on the offensive side of the ball. 51% from the field, 34% from 3. Their issue was not their offense. Sabonis was great. 29 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists, shot above 70% from the field. He was 10 of 14 in total. A great game for him. De'Aaron Fox also had a strong night. 28 points, 10 assists, little under 50% for shooting. I would have liked for him to drive a little more than to take 10 threes, but he was 3 of 10 from downtown. Wasn't the worst night for him ever, but I would have liked seeing him drive into the cup just a little more. But that's kind of a nitpick, don't get me wrong. DeMar DeRozan, he also had a solid game, a really efficient night for him. He had 23 on 9 of 12 shooting and actually made 2 of his 3 shots from long distance, including a 3 in near the end of the game to keep Sacramento into it. Their one issue, before I get into their issue, Keegan Murray, he was in double figures again. Malik Monk, he was also in double figures again. But my issue with this team is its defense. And while Kevin Huerter, he who is starting for them, he did have 14 points. He did have 5 of 9 shooting. He was 4 of 7 from 3. He was far and away, by far, the worst plus-minus in the entire game. Just for example, Domantas Sabonis started plus 11. I'm looking at it right now. De'Aaron Fox started minus 5. DeMar started minus 9. Kevin Huerter was a minus 29 on the court. The Lakers went in their game plan, and they were like, okay, who is Kevin Huerter guarding? They did the old Chris move, the whoever offense on Kevin Huerter. Whoever he was guarding, they were going to attack. And it worked to perfection. And when you have a guy like Keon Ellis not even play, he was a DNP tonight, it makes me question that because Last year, Sacramento's defense became so improved once they started playing Keon Ellis more. Once they started giving him that starter role due to Herter's injury, the Kings' defense became so much better. And when you need defense like they do clearly, I really don't understand why he isn't getting more playing time personally. Teams will play again Monday, with the Lakers looking to stay undefeated in Phoenix and the Kings trying to get their first win at home against the Trailblazers. Concludes today's 10-game slate from the NBA. It's been back-to-back days of 10-game slates, 20 games in the last 2 days. Been a lot of fun, I gotta admit. If you watched to the end of this, thank you. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. God bless, and I will be back tomorrow recapping the 5-game slate going on today.